One, you're in here because you're Google, I hope, because it's the only way to do it that I know of. You can't do it with PowerPoint. So everybody's doing Google Slides, but you're doing the presentation. You click on it, you click on it, you click on it, and it's boring. Let's animate it. Let's have some fun with it. And in your mind, when you see this, you should start thinking all the different ideas that you could do with this or have your students do it. You could do it yourself as a teacher. It would be awesome if you had your own little animations that you made. But I love things that I put in front of the students' hands and let them do it because that creativity is just amazing. When you see this, I look at the stuff and I love when I have to dissect what a student did and say, how did you do that? Because then I know they're taking me to another level and I've taken them to another level. Got it. I said I got it. All right, so let's take a look at some examples. So this is what, I'm starting at the beginning. So this is one I did with a health and PE class. They had to do a lesson on drinking and driving. And so they had to make a stop motion video about it. And so you can see what they did right here. So sort of look at some of the elements. They used real sort of pictures, not just, animated art. They have the words coming on. It can be letter by letter. It can be word by word. They have to think about how best they do this. So they layered a beer bottle into the guy's hand because that didn't come out that way. So we talk about different sites to make that happen, like LunaPic and Remove BG and Cleanup Picture. Sites that are really help them, not just for this activity, down the way. So, I know. And so they were supposed to have embed in it a fact about what they were talking about, what some of the dangers of it. So they built this in. Really, that's an awesome example. Let me show you another one.
That is cool.
So still the same thing, sort of. So you can see the speed. The thing about this is the students have to figure out what speed is going to be best for their presentation. Color. The car changed color for some reason. Amazing. Oh. But this is what got me with this one. But what if? Watch this whole thing. Look if they did. They reversed the whole stop motion video, and then they're going to change the narrative of it. What would happen if? So, now I have to tell you, I think this one is probably 400 slides to make this happen.
Wow.
And so when you're making this, you're going to say, when I told the kids this, they're like, 400 slides. I'm like, it takes 20 slides just to put a word across. So we had minimum specs. Had to be a minimum of 50 slides to get a C. And then you went up from there. Because if it's 10 slides, that's a Google slide presentation. I just click through it. It's not an animation. So in order to make the animation, because each one of the slides is going to be on there for a second or less. And we control that through a line. So this is my ultimate one. So all the graphics you see on this one, the student hand drew all this stuff. See how that slide went across there? That is awesome. I had to go back and see how he did that and got that slide to do that. So all the fibers you see here, hand drew all that stuff in Google Slides. Now you tell me by the end of this activity that the student didn't know this process by making all of that. They knew that process up one side and down the other. And you look, this one is 600 and some slides, I believe, long if I look at it, if I pause it here.
How long does it take students to make something like that?
So that's a good question. How long does it take? It can take, we would do 3 45-minute class periods to let them make a decent one. This student obviously took it home, found an interest in it, and really took it beyond. That's what I love about having devices that we send home with students. They did it on their own at home. We didn't say it had to be this long. This student just gravitated toward it. And I tell you what I love about these examples is that my first one that I did was really rudimentary, but I wanted to show them some stuff. So my first bulk of them looked like mine. They took my example, basically recreated it for their own purposes. But as I did this a couple times, I found those ones that took it to the next level, and those are the ones I used as my example. And I kept on pushing the envelope up every time. It was amazing what they would bring to the table. Once you show them the minimum that you set, they take it above that. And even if I took this one and made this my minimum, I mean, this is huge. So it was awesome. So I've shown you high school stuff where you're like, hey, Doug, you set the scale to elementary school. If you go to the website that I shared with you, where I have some other examples as well, if you look down at the bottom of it, here are 2 elementary school examples. These were done by, I think it was a 1st or 2nd grade art teacher. Kids drew every one of those pictures on there and made everything themselves. Talk about perspective, the fact that you know that something gets bigger as it comes closer to you. Working on perspective. This is why I said this scales to any grade level. Kindergarten, they don't have to create everything. You make the slides with things on it, and you just tell them to move it around and make their animation. So it's awesome. That's why I love this, because I'm thinking about social studies and wars and how countries took over, and you could have it all animated about how things happen. This is awesome. Here's another one on here.
That's cute.
See how it comes back now? It's bigger when it comes closer to it.
And so for elementary, how many slides would that be?
So this is probably 20 to 30 slides. And again, if time is an issue, I already have some content on there. Like the slide I'm giving you today to make your own, I already have the background on there. I have a little character on there. All I want you to do is animate the character up the mountain down the other side. So you don't have to spend your time looking for the elements of it. You just have to figure out how to move it to where you want it and then look at it. So that's a time-saving feature. High school, we started with a blank presentation. I said go to slides.new and make a new slideshow. Here's what you do. So they took it from scratch. And that's where I live. Because if you give them the idea, then they tend to stay with whatever you give them. But if you give them a blank slate, that's where that creativity comes in. All right, so let's take a look at what this looks like. Close out of some of these tabs here.
Got a question on the virtual.
Yes.
Do you ever have any issues with the 400 to 500 deck loading in order to play correctly?
No. And once it loads the first time, it just cycles through and does it. So loading it up the first time is critical. So here is my presentation that you saw this morning. So I started with a mountain, and if you look down, if I zoom out, my little hiker's off the mountain. So he's going to appear coming up the mountain. I just put him off. So you can use that effect. You can have something coming off the slide onto the slide, like my airplane. Came off one side, went across, and went out the other side. Or it could be they're on the slide and they go off the slide. So use that. So you can see all I'm doing here, and here's my friend, and I'll give you these tips. I take my first slide and I do a Control D. I teach my students that. I duplicate that first slide. Then I move to my next slide. I move an element a little bit. I take that new slide, do a Control D to duplicate that one, make another one. And that's all there is to it. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. You make a slideshow, you publish it to the web so you can get the animation, and then you control the speed. That's all there is to this. That's why I love this. So if you go down through, you can see tiny little bits that I kept on Control D, just move it, move it, move it. It gets up to the top. I have some animation where I went to a site called LunaPic, and I erased his arms and made his arms different. because he was a character. And so I teach my students about Luna Pick because it gets rid of the transparent or the background. I told them what I don't want is when you go get that picture of that car, I don't want a big white box around it. We're professional. We're better than that. So let's go to a site where you can make the background go away so it looks like it was meant to be on there. And then you have to talk about layering. These are all things that are skills you just don't use for health and PE. You just don't use them for science. These are skills that we need everybody to know: how to move to back, how to move to front, how to layer things, how to get rid of backgrounds, how to get the part that you want. So then I come back down. Actually, I went back up. So my flag right here, let me zoom back into 100% because this is another tip. So for the flag right here, to make it look like it is unfolding, I simply clicked on the flag and I drew the handle and made it larger each time. A little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. Made it look like the flag was coming out. Same shape. And then I added a letter each time to make it look like it was unfolding. I can do the same thing with the cropping tool. I had this little guy. He was going into the water. He fell off the cliff. Was going into the water. So when he went down, I cropped off his head, moved his body down to equal with the water. Then I cropped a little bit more of his body, moved him down, cropped a little bit more. And it made it look like when he hit the water that he disappeared into the water. All I did was crop him out a little bit at a time. So real easy elements that you can do with this. So if I go down through, I just kept on making it bigger and adding comes back down the mountain. Then all of a sudden, see right here, this wasn't in any of my stuff because I went back and added it. I said, I need a plane. I need my Bitly. So I have my plane starting off, and I grouped all these things together. That's a plane with a line, with a shape that I've added the text to, and I grouped them together to make them one element so I could move them. Then it goes across.
Did you do that in Google Drawing?
I did it right here on Google Slides.
Oh.
You can group in Google Slides. I just put everything together in Google Slides. Yes, good question. You can use Google Drawing and group them together too, because Google Drawing gives you a transparent background on your objects, which is great. So right here, I do want to point out that if you want something to stay on the screen longer, like the text, if you want to read a fact, you achieve that by just duplicating that slide over and over and over again. Don't change anything. Just leave it all there the same. And that's how it works. So let's take a look at just some tips and tricks. So right here. And the nice thing about this website is this is public facing all the time. I've used it for years now. And so as I curate more, as I find new things, it's going to be on here. Now, these videos I curated, because they're pretty cool. They show you how to use real pictures instead of clip art. So you can actually go and take your own pictures. There was one who took a picture of a Lego board and then kept on making the Lego pieces different. And it made it look like it was a Lego thing. But they were using real pictures. They were using a webcam, snapping their pictures and just bringing them on. Somebody would say, well, what if I want to add sound to this? Well, you can't really add a sound because remember, you're on the screen a second or less, usually probably a half a second. So if your sound was on there, it would keep cutting off. So you achieve a sound by you finish this, and then you Screencastify and make a video of it and put your sound in Screencastify and make a video. You guys, hopefully things are spinning in your mind like right now, like these are awesome things. I can go back and do this. I don't know what grade level. I can do this for anything. I did it with media specialists. We did a hop on pop. So I had the hop on pop characters. They were jumping on pop and had an animation. It was awesome. So some of my tips right here. So I told you about Control D. I teach all the kids Control D for duplicate. What they're going to do is make a mistake somewhere along the way. They're going to Control D one of the things instead of the slide. So they're going to end up with and this is on the website if you want to just go to the Bitly for that so that you don't have to take a picture. But you can take a picture. I just don't want you to think. It's always out there for you to see. I teach them that if you go to do a Control D and you actually are on an object rather than the slide to duplicate it, just click on Do and try again. You'll also have them do Control D and make a bookmark because Control D is a bookmark depending on where you're clicked in Google. I said, if that happens, just click Remove and then try again. The whole, and I'm going to show you this in just a second. I'm going to make a copy of mine. the whole premise of this is you're going to have two tabs open. One tab is your working presentation where you're adding slides and doing your work. The second tab is one that you publish to the web. And when you publish it to the web, you get the choice to auto loop and auto start. And it gives you 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, doesn't matter what you pick, because we're actually going to change that. But by publishing it to the web, gives you a URL that you can go in and edit. And you edit one small portion of that URL, changes the speed of it. Awesome. It's awesomely simple. So I would always have my students working on their presentation, going to the second tab, previewing it. What's it look like? Add more content, preview it. What's it look like? And so they're always going back and forth to look at it. I would tell them, yeah, I would recommend that you do at least 10 slides before you publish it to the web. Otherwise, it's just one slide. So I don't have them do it right away because I want to get them working a little bit. And then once they get into it, then we put the sauce on top of it. Because then I say, all right, everybody stop. Let's publish it to the web. Let's see what it looks like now. And once they see it, then that spark comes in. They're like, oh, this is awesome. And then they go back and forth and start working. So it's good. Because really, when you introduce it, it's best to let them start working on some slides before you give them the next step so they don't get confused in the directions. Let them get working a little bit. Just focus in on making some movements, duplicating slides, and then let's animate it. And once we've done those 2 steps, we're done. Bless you. So I talked about some of these other things right here. Great for teaching them things about layering front to back, about transparent backgrounds. I do recommend that if they're going to pick an image for the background, I teach them how to do the format background as image, so they don't have to worry about the background moving around when they go to highlight things, because that gets a little confusing when they go to click on it and they highlight the background. So I take that step out of it so that they don't have to do that, unless they're going to change backgrounds. So I talked about the crop and the grow and the shrink and having things come off. I talked about duplicating to make things on there more. I talked about screencastify. I talked about the fact that you could use real camera. You could use your webcam to take real pictures. And then some of these that I teach the students to use are these LunaPic. Remove BG is pretty cool. Yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to jump up. You said about using Screencastify to make. Do you ever use Tall Tweets? Have you heard of that?
No.
Tall Tweets, you can put a Google slide presentation and it generates a GIF. So this would be a really perfect way to, like, if you needed to take one of these and put it into another.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Tall
I
Tweets
usually use
Tall Tweets is the name of that app.
Tall Tweets. Everybody hear that? I love when we share. I usually use Easy GIF to make my.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a question. So I just want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. So once you publish it to the web and you make changes, you don't have to like republish it to
Nope.
the web, it automatically.
Automatically does.
Okay.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
So all they have to do is just refresh their page and there's their new changes.
Okay.
Awesome. I'm not kidding you. This is why you can see how excited I am about this. I don't even do this anymore since I became IT director. I'm not in the classroom doing this stuff, but I love this enough that I said, I want to come do this presentation because I want everybody to try this in the classroom because it's that easy and because it scales K to 12. Some of the stuff that I do with kids, because I was at a high school, I wouldn't come here and say it could do that. This one I can. I have an art teacher who's presented all over the state of Virginia with this concept because she came to one of my sessions and just loved it so much. She's the one that did those art ones. She's presented on it. So yeah, use these. If you've not done Remove BG, it is awesome. I do it all the time to take a picture. I take pictures of myself and I'm in New York City now instead of, because I've never been, well, actually I just got back from that. But before I was not in New York City, but I was because I found a picture of myself, removed all the background, popped me right in New York City. It's awesome. And this clean up pictures, and ITRT just showed me that one. It allows you to, you take that perfect photo and there's a stinking telephone pole right in the middle of it. You take this and you highlight over the telephone pole and it erases it. And it's all web-based. It is awesome. So we were making those, can you spot the difference pictures? I love those as a kid. They came in, what was that book? Highlights, yes, highlights. Awesome. All right, so let's take a look at this. I'm going to take my slideshow, this one right here. I'm going to go File, and I'm going to make a copy of the entire presentation. Because I'm going to show you the last step of this. And I'm doing awesome on time, so that you're gonna have time to make one if you want one. So what I did right here is I actually copied the whole URL that gets published just to show you what it looks like. So if I take this URL, this is what gets published when you publish to the web. And here is the entire key to this. Delay milliseconds equals. If I change that number, each 1,000 represents 1 second. So this one would be a 3-second automatic transition to the next slide. So 500 is a half a second. So what I do is I just go in and I tell the kids, change that last number in the URL to a different number and refresh it, see what it looks like. So I'm going to take this one because I don't have it published. Oh, and you see this hidden slide? I forgot to tell you. If you want to put slides in there that you don't want people to see in the presentation, just hide them and they don't show up. I think they show up in the first run of it, but as it loops through, then they don't show up anymore. So here's the whole key to it. I'm going to go to File, Publish to the Web. It's going to say it's 3 seconds. I don't care what it picks because I'm not going to pick any of those. So I'm going to leave that at default, but I'm going to check these 2 boxes. Make sure that it loads as soon as it goes and restart the slideshow after it's done. So this way it automatically goes into the presentation and then loops it through when it's done. And I click Publish. And I say, okay, here is my URL. It even tells you what to do with it. That's what I love about Google. It says Control-C that. So I'm going to Control-C it. I'm going to close that out. I'm going to come right here to a new tab, and I'm going to Control-V it, and there's my delay. And I'm going to say, I want this delay to be 500. Hit Enter. There is my slideshow. How simple can that be? Now, here's the thing that'll get kids. If I would need to go and edit that time, it's going and it keeps changing this URL. If you look up here, this thing keeps changing all the time. You probably don't notice it because but it has a different one for it. See right here at the end? Has a different number for every slide. So you really can't edit this speed with it running. So I tell them to come down here where it says autoplay and I say pause it. And then I come up here and I find my delay milliseconds right here. I'll change this to 200 and hit enter. And then now it's going a lot quicker. Now it's at 200. And all I had to do was pause it, change that number to 200. Now it's going a lot quicker than it was before.
And that was with any slide, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I found that it works with any slide. Or the reason I had that first slide was I copied and pasted my original URL. Because the one thing I did find is once you close out of that publish to web, you can never find that URL again. I can't figure out how to do it. Somebody knows how to do it. It'd be awesome to hear that idea. So if the kids forget what the URL is, all they have to do is go to publish and say stop publishing, and then go back to publish to the web and publish it again. It gives them the URL again. It's a pain. I wish you could find it easier. That's why I have them copy and paste it somewhere so that they have that published URL in case they want to go back and do something. So here it is at 2 seconds. You have a lot of fun. Tell them to take it to 1 and watch it zip right through. They have fun with that, just seeing what the impact is. But the key is finding the time frame that fits the best for your animation. Like, I wish I could climb a mountain that fast. And so having it go at 200 is probably too quick for my animation. So I can either add more slides to it to do the animation, or I could slow the time down. That's it. Isn't that awesome? Awesomely simple. That's why I love it. I'm not trying to hide anything from you. Any questions on it? You guys are probably like, it can't be that simple. It just can't be.
Yes, right before Thanksgiving, and I read the book Balloons Over Broadway,
Uh-huh.
and then I let my 6th graders create a stop motion with, they could come up with their own, floats and their balloons and,
That's awesome.
and they did that right before Thanksgiving.
Hey, that was a great idea that I didn't even think of. What if you took this and everybody had a section of the slideshow to make their own
I'm gonna.
floats
my
instead
goal
of
was to
everybody
have them all
doing,
together,
yeah,
but
instead of everybody doing
I
their
haven't
own,
put together yet.
you share the slideshow with everybody and everybody has to work together on it. And you have your section, I have my section, and you have to make them match together. You give everybody the same background. Your car has to go away, my car has to follow and come in. You could have like Macy's, because I just got back from New York City, you could have like 34th Street, just a background, and your car comes in and then the next car has to come in and go off. And that was awesome. See, I'm really excited about this. I'm not even gonna be able to do it, but I'm excited about it. Anything else about this?
How do you connect this with the real world? Like, do you share with them that this is how, like, the original cartoons were made and, or like, what,
See,
how do you connect that?
See, for mine, the connection wasn't about the technology itself. So what I tried to convey were some things that everybody needs to know. Control C to copy, Control V to paste, how to get rid of the background, the white box. I was trying to do all that stuff. Then the real world part was we linked in the statistics about death and everything from drinking and driving, because that was our main one. If I was a social studies teacher, or for mitosis, the whole idea was, how does mitosis happen? And that was the main thing. Technology, for me, there should be some technology elements that I try to teach kids that are across any project that you're going to do. You should have some basic set of skills. I'm finding students don't come with those basic set of skills. They know how to use their iPhone like crazy. They can watch TikTok, they can do Minecraft. But if I say, hey, how do you copy and paste? I don't know. What are those little squares around the outside of an image called? I don't know. They're squares. They're like handles. What do? When you grab the corner one, it keeps it in proportion. If you grab one of the ones in the middle, I become tall and fat or short and skinny. Those are important things to know. So when you're doing things like that, how do you crop an image? So I was trying to get those across when I was doing it, as well as what the teacher wanted, the content of the teacher. So I came in as the ITRT. They did the content knowledge. I did the technology part of it, the things I wanted them to learn, and we put it together like that. So, and I always tell them too, this is not meant to be a full motion video. This is meant to be stop motion. So things don't go right. You know, my arms went like this and bent around like this. That's the fun part of it. You know, if you want to make a video, that's why you have a camera, a phone. You shoot a video. This is meant to be that stop motion-y part of it. So what I would like you to do, because I'm not going to do my drawing yet. So if you leave, you just don't get your chance. What I would like you to do is go to the home page, and there is a Let's Create one. Must be an edit mode. Edit mode, because this wasn't working earlier. So I have a Let's Create one. So if you click on that, and you should be able to go to File, Make a Copy. I have a little man down here. I want you to take your little man. So I'm going to take my first slide. Make sure your slide is yellow. That's the key. If it's not yellow when you go to do your Control D, you've duplicated something else. You either made a bookmark or you copied something else on your screen. I'm going to do a Control D and watch what happens. Bam, there's my next one. So I'm going to come down here. Oh, I always tell my kids this too. Rather than use your mouse for movements, if you want a little bit more fluid, use your keyboard. So I'm going to go up to over 1. Come right here. I'm going to do a Control D. Now I'm on my new slide. My guy's up on here. I'm going to click right here. I'm going to go up to over 1. Come right here. Do a Control D. Click on M. Up to over 1. And once I get about 10 slides done, I'm going to come up here and go to File, Publish to Web, check my 2 boxes, click Publish, click OK. Copy this, go to a new tab, paste it, change my speed. I'm going to start at 400. Hit Enter. And there's the start of my slideshow. And then as I come back here, close that one out. What's this one? Is it right here? There it is. So. So just to show you how this works. So if I come right here and I go do a Control D, I'm going to do something really rudimentary here. I'm going to put awesome on one slide. So now when I come back here and I click refresh, you see my little thing come on? And then I see the word awesome come on. So all I do is refresh it. So as I add to it, it automatically, when I refresh my page, my changes are there. And then I just keep working on it until I'm done. So take a couple minutes. See if you can do this. Raise your hand if you have any questions. Those of you at home, hopefully you're doing this too, making your own copy of it, trying to make your little fella go up and down. And at 10:30, I'll do the drawing. So take about 10 minutes and see how far you can get in 10 minutes. It's amazing how far you can get in 10 minutes. You'll have 50 slides in 10 minutes, I bet. So when we talk about this with kids, and at first you show them 600 slides, they're like crazy because they've only ever made 10 slides before in their life.
I'm not getting to the Google Doc.
All right, I'm gonna slide through there.
Yeah.
That's fine. No. Click right here. Yep.
Alright.
Copy.
Let's put it online.
Oh, actually, I forgot I was working on this. So when you keep making a copy, you get my copy, don't you?
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Just a head start.
You get a, yeah, that's all right. You get a head start. So you can delete a slide. I will tell you this tip. Don't try to go back and make changes to your slides. Like if you miss something and say, oh, I want to move that one different. It is such a pain to have to go back to every one of them and move everything just a little bit. It's easier just to start over. Delete the slides and start over again. I'll tell you that from experience.
Got a question on the chat.
Yes.
If we are using all iPads, would students have to save the images to their camera rolls before uploading to the slides?
Yes. Trying to think of my phone because I'm a Chromebook.
Actually, I have a Google Drive app on my phone. So I just when I take a photograph, I just automatically upload.
How about upload it to Drive and then you can put it in the slide from there? Yep, that's good. Tell them that. Suggestion here was put it in Google Drive. I do too. That's where, for my iPhone, I put all my pictures in Google Drive too. That's what I love about Google Drive. It's on all my devices. Sorry if you're a Office 365 person and using OneDrive. I'm not as familiar with that. It's probably just as awesome. I say that because I took a Microsoft cup and a Microsoft umbrella the other day from their stand.
She asks, are there any other suggestions or tips using iPads?
I don't, iPad people, can you think of any other suggestions and tips using iPads? That I'm not as experienced with iPads for that. I would use iPads to do iMovie trailers, and the awesomeness that I came out with those. We did emotion videos. You had to pick an emotion and make an iMovie trailer of that emotion. Awesome activity with high school students. They put all sorts of work into that.
It
So
would be challenging to do this on an iPad because of that, the ability to move they had a keyboard that they could connect to the iPad and use the same mouse features that are the arrow keys. And I think that would be hard. I don't know.
I'm always impressed by the kids. They seem much more
Yeah.
nimble with the screens than I am. Like they can manipulate so many things than I can.
I have a question. Get your words to show up, the awesome.
What's that?
How did you get the awesome to show up? Because mine's not working. I typed in a text box, but it's not working when I.
did you refresh your page?
I did.
Let's see.
Well, I put the words in before I.
All right, let's see.
Oh, now it's
There,
there.
okay.
Sorry, I
saw it,
must
see?
have looked
I just
away.
needed to come here. You know, I love technology, problems like that, when things get really get fixed, I'm like, I don't know if you guys, any of those TikTok people, you can see the one where the ostrich was running at that lady, and she just goes, and the thing stops? Then I love the couple where he tried to do that, and he ends up in the hospital with that arm like this, his wife.
And while we're all like sharing, does
So
anybody
they're
know
all
of
on here. So
does anybody know of like a
on
Bitmoji
that
sort of thing,
website,
but
so if you
like
watch
for
those videos on
kids?
how to do
Like
that.
not a bit, I don't know why Bitmoji's blocked for kids in my
Oh,
country. I'm just thinking if I
yeah,
wanted
so
them to
I
make a
have
little
a
avatar like
website
that, if anybody
that
knows
is-
something like that. Where it's like
If you use
accessible.
remove background, you can use actual pictures of them. It's a free site, it's like remove
Yeah.
background.
Yeah, remove.bg.
Yes.
Love it. It's on my website.
I bet there is a site that would take a photograph of them and turn it into
like a cartoony picture.
There is, yeah,
Like
I have that for my my iPhone. I made
Nintendo does.
pictures of
Oh, the Mii's or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, Memojis.
Trying to find
Heard somebody
it.
talk about Memojis the other day.
Facebook has
I
them
heard
too.
somebody
I mean,
talk about that.
Yeah, I got little ones though. They don't have
Is that
like
it?
social media, so they
There
can't
you
do it
go.
that way.
There it is.
Thank you.
That takes you to the website that I was showing that has my examples, has some curated videos that I didn't make. I figured, why would I make a video where somebody's already made it? So I just made the content for you to use with it. So, have you published, have you seen this? Everybody got some animation going? See how easy it is?
Did you say, I couldn't hear the question that was up there earlier. Did you say you've done this on the iPad or you've not?
I have not done it on an iPad. I have only done it on Chromebooks. We're a
Okay.
Chromebook division.
I don't see published to the web on the iPad. I'm on,
You don't see
I'm
what?
on my own iPad.
And you don't see published to the web?
I don't. You
That's a
can
bummer.
present on this device.
That is a bummer because we're an iPad division. So
I mean, you would need to look around, but like it'll let me present on this device, present to Chromecast. That's it.
You might
Because
want to
it's
check
the
out
app,
that
the app
Tall
works
Tweets app.
differently,
Right.
you know.
You should check out that Tall Tweets app because you can take it.
That's good to know, because now we have to put that
Tall Tweets,
disclaimer,
your
you're an
presentation
iPad
there, and it
division. That's a bummer.
creates- Like you could basically do the same thing as this
Oh,
published to web,
actually,
it just takes an
I'm
extra
strictly
step.
an Apple
You go to
person
the
in my
Tall Tweets
personal life,
website,
but
you
not.
I love Apple
can
stuff.
tell it
Not
how
at
many
school.
But not at school.
Yeah.
we need
I-
slide and it makes an animated. clip out
10,
of your
12 years ago, I wrote a grant
presentation.
with Roanoke City,
Uh-huh.
and we put in iPod touches, and I swore I'd never touch an Apple device again in enterprise world.
Right.
Oh my goodness. I touched those iPod touches, I bet you 100 times.
Did you change this pacing?
So on the pacing, did you go to file, publish to web?
Yeah, and then I
Okay.
go to pause.
Okay, so go to pause, come up here, and click on that URL. And then click again, so you get your cursor, and then scroll over till you see where it says delay MS. You have to go over, it's,
Not sure if I have to use
so 3,000, so take that number,
It usually varies.
like 400,
It's very easy, I was like,
and then just hit enter.
And so the lower the number, the faster.
Correct.
Okay.
So 1 second is 1,000, so
Okay.
then it goes less than that. Yep,
Okay.
good. Yes. Oh, yeah, I don't blame you. I like seeing what people do. I get excited. Oh, see you too. Yes.
I was trying to figure out what we could use with my third graders.
Can I say? All right, you guys took, about other examples here. Didn't take my slide, but took the water cycle. Oh my goodness, how could you not take the water cycle and make this an animation?
Oh, that's cool.
That is awesome. Look at that.
Oh, good.
I can't say that's cool. I have heard.
The water cycle. Awesome example. So elementary stuff, awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And see how quick and easy that was? Could you imagine? So having your kids do this, if you had like a background image and told them to do the rest of it, I mean, we're talking an hour max, they could have made a nice presentation and had it done. I just think about the Civil War and like battles. You could have battles or Civil War of how the territories changed. Or what about the trade routes to the New World? That could be animated. You could have a boat that goes out on a trade route. I started thinking, this stuff is awesome. I hope you guys get the excitement that I get from this.
We, last spring, we had the kids create what we call the vacation,
Okay.
where they removed the background from their picture.
Yes, to put themselves.
And put themselves in a vacation picture,
Yes.
a vacation montage, and then we made it a contest.
Yeah.
So.
Could you
we did it
imagine?
With our morning news, it was awesome.
You could do this as an automated show. So you could do this with So this could be a slideshow, where you basically are just doing pictures. Probably somebody did not know that you could publish to the web like this. And so it could be a morning picture routine, That's a side takeaway. It doesn't have to do with stop motion, but a way to be able to automate your slideshows if you didn't know you could publish to the web and get that URL to make it start and keep going. That's a takeaway that's probably just like a gold nugget today. Anyhow.
Mine was the editing URL, because I've had my students do these before, but I thought we were constrained to 1 second. So
I know.
I used to have them use their mouse and record it with Snagit to get it faster. That's so much easier. That's eye-opening.
See?
I had a bunch, I just went and played with some of theirs. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah, because they had to turn in the slides and then they had to turn in the video that they recorded of it.
So I'm going for the best session of the conference. Because you're gonna leave out here thinking, that was so awesomely easy and that's so awesome.
I just wanted to show you.
Oh, yes. I love proud students. Oh, you took an added some stuff to it.
Well, yeah. Sorry, I would never be cutting you out. Telling you right now, I would never do this.
I wouldn't even feel like it. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I get caught in an avalanche. Awesome. She said she'd never be scaling a mountain. I wouldn't either. I felt bad the other day. I have an 8-year-old. I went on a walking field trip with him. So I walked over to a school because my office is across the street, and we walked over to the downtown area to see a Veterans Day parade. And halfway walking there, my Apple Watch said I'd set a new personal workout record. I was like, oh my goodness, I am lazy. I want to turn my watch off.
When I used to use Gift Builder,
Uh-huh.
which is similar to this,
Yes.
we did it in the elementary school with the science of toys that talked about motion.
Yes.
So the kids, these were first and second graders, they would make like balls bouncing.
Oh,
and then
that's
they had
awesome.
to explain what it was doing.
So
Yo-yos.
simple machines. You got to animate a simple machine. That's awesome. All right, it's 10:30. All right, giveaway. That's the only reason you're here.
Yeah.
Why didn't my names come to my spreadsheet?
Maybe refresh it.
Don't fail us now.
We all win.
What technology is this?
It's working. Stop working.
Maybe create a,
Are you gonna let me
just
do this?
create a new spreadsheet.
How about this?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody still registering?
No, my name's not up there.
Yeah, what if you just click the little green spreadsheet button, will it make a new
It
one?
was in his Bitmoji.
I bet the other one got unlinked or something.
Yeah, everybody do a new one real quick. Everybody, does people who are in here, does anybody see their name here?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I want to make sure I have the right form. Because I've used the same form over and over again. I think I'd use copy and paste it here.
Dottie, yes, or you. Click this
You should pick that first one right there.
Somebody's in there twice.
Seriously. I'm gonna have to go, new response.
Unlink the form.
Yeah, I would unlink
Yeah.
and then do it.
Unlink?
Keep going down.
There you
There
go.
Thank you. Everybody in?
No.
All right, give you 30 seconds.
No pressure.
But you unlinked it, so they won't end up in there now.
They should now because I linked it back again, create a new spreadsheet, right?
Yeah.
So they should populate in there, 44. Yep, 45, there we go, it's popping, 46. Oh, look at all these people. These people are from home too?
Yeah, Brenna's.
Yeah, I'm Diane
Virtual.
Peters, I just got in.
Hey, Brenna.
All right, here we go. Sorry if your name's not in. Snooze, you lose. Of course, if you just came in, hi. Did you guys ever use this? ABC random name picker? Awesome. There is everybody. Ready? I love this one because usually it spins for a long time, so it gives you some suspense to it.
So nervous. It's not the name, it's not the name.
Go back 3.
Oh, is Sheila here? Oh, awesome.
Good job.
All right,
I want
Sheila.
money back.
There you go.
What is it?
It's a little speaker. It's a nice speaker. I like those. It's supposed to be, I think it might be semi-waterproof type of speaker. So
You should go take.
it's made by
a shower,
Cambridge
see.
Soundworks. They're usually a good company if you're an audiophile.
Thank you.
Any questions that you have before I let you go?
This is great. That was a good one, man.
I hope you do. I really hope you do this. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your conference. If you didn't